On Oli here, and this is my review of the Sea Devils, the third story of this ninth season of classic Doctor Who, starring John Pertwee as the third Doctor. The Sea Devils is the 62nd story overall. It's 6 episodes long, and it's written by Malcolm Hawke. And also, the Sea Devils marks the halfway point of the John Pertwee era. Sea Devils is as follows. Arrested after the events at Devil's End, the Master has been incarcerated at the top security prison on a remote island off the south coast of England. When the Doctor and Jo Grant pay a visit to their old enemy, they find him a reformed character. But can the state of mysterious shipping accidents and garbled reports of sea monsters in the local area really be a coincidence? The Doctor soon finds himself pitted against the Sea Devils, an ancient race of reptiles intent on eliminating mankind and reclaiming the Earth for themselves. So that is the plot of the Sea Devils. Actually, my favorite story from season 9. It's a great story, but I wouldn't say it's 10 out of 10 perfect to say the least. The production of the story was rather good. I liked the Sea Devils on the water based set, and I liked the location filming and the setting around the sea where the Master was imprisoned. I liked the script. It had good bits of dialogue and great moments of action as well. And also good action scenes in the story, such as the Doctor and the Master's sword fight in episode 2. I think the direction by Michael Bryant was great, and I think it's definitely a big step up to his direction in the Colony in Space. The fact that the Royal Navy was used in this story made the Sea Devils feel authentic, and it was pretty cool. And you can tell Pertwee, as he was a former Navy man himself, you can tell he enjoyed working in this story, and he even had fun with them while playing around on, I think, on some of the boats and stuff when the cameras weren't rolling. The plot overall was good, but I would say the Sea Devils is very much like Doctor Who and the Silurians back in season 7. But it's set underwater, and the maturity that was in Doctor Who and the Silurians is pretty much just moved, and I do like the whole plot that the Sea Devils still wanted to take over the Earth, and the Doctor still wanting to find a way for humans and Sea Devils to coexist. And he is definitely hell bent on making sure what happened back in Doctor Who and the Silurians did not happen again here. But obviously, with the Master present, I think that pretty much raised the bar a little bit, and actually does make the story a bit better. I also love the moments that this story had, such as the sword fight between the Doctor and the Master in episode 2. It was very well choreographed, and it even leads to a cliffhanger at the end of episode 2 when the Master was about to throw a dagger at the Doctor's direction off camera, but it was just a bit of a couple when the Doctor just moved out of the way like that. And I also like the moment at the end of episode 3 and leading into episode 4 when the Doctor and Jo were cornered by Sea Devils coming out of the sea, and then when we saw the Doctor and Jo navigating through like a minefield, and then they got to a certain distance, and then I think the Sea Devil that came out, one of the Sea Devils that came out, was trying to navigate his way through the minefield itself, and the Doctor was just setting off the landmines with a sonic screwdriver, and then the Sea Devil was like, ah. It was also very funny as well. The acting, which I would say was quite good, quite enjoyable, good job from all the cast. For instance, I think John Pertwee was great, and he's always great, to say the least, and I would say that the Sea Devils is his best performance of season 9. He got some good bits of dialogue, especially the fact he was telling Jo that he and the Master, well, he implied, but he did pretty much say that the Doctor and the Master used to be friends back in Gallifrey, and he also gets some good bits of comedy later on in the story when Joe's about to eat his sandwich and the Doctor pretty much just takes it away from her, and then I think he gives it to the other people in the room, and then when he gives it, and then he just ignores Joe, and then Joe's like, Doctor, what about me? And then he gives Joe the sandwich. You also like the part when the Doctor was promising that Sea Devil that I think he was the elderly the Sea Devil or something like that, that humans and the Sea Devils can actually try and coexist. And I like the part when the Doctor and the Sea Devil were pretty much just holding their palms against each other like that. It was pretty cool, and it was quite heartwarming as well. But I didn't really like how that was just thrown out the window when the Master came in. But it was a good inclusion, though, to say the least. And this also adds into another factor that the Sea Devils and the Doctor and the Silurians are pretty much the same thing. Katie Manning, she was great in the story and is pretty clear at this point where her character development is actually coming to good use here. And I liked how she was able to ride the bike, and I love how she was able to take down security guards with some action scenes herself. And I liked how she was able to rescue the doctor towards I think it was episode 5, when after she had escaped, she was able to go back to where the doctor was held captive, and then when the master was holding him hostage over the Sea Devil, I think, and then the doctor soldier, and they were telling her to wait outside for 5 minutes and then you can come rescue me. I mean, that was pretty cool to say the least, and I definitely think that Keaton Benning really did a great job with the story, and I would say that this is probably one of her best performances as Joe Grunt in this story. Once again, Unit is nowhere to be seen, and it's actually quite odd to have an Earth exile story without Unit, to say the least. But I do think it would have been better to have at least included Unit in some capacity in a way. But we had the Royal Navy in the story, which was a good inclusion, but I would have liked to have seen Unit square off against the Navy, or at least teaming up together to at least defeat the Sea Devils. I think that would have been a bit better. The main cast of the story, I didn't feel they weren't that engaging as other side characters in other stories, but they were decent in some way, but I wish they could have been better, because considering the fact that the other side characters were just mainly disposable Navy guys, or just disposable characters that were there, but the ones I'm going to mention now, I think they did stand out for a bit of the story. So, first off, we have Captain John Hart, not to be confused with the Captain John Hart from Torchwood. This Captain John Hart was in the Navy SEAL and worked in the research center, the HMS Sea Spite. He saw the threat that the Master and the Sea Devils posed, and he helped the Doctor and Joe defeat the Sea Devils and the Master before the Master decided to escape. I think he was a decent character. He also had George Trenchard. He was in charge of the prison where the Master was incarcerated, but then he and the Master were secretly in cahoots, trying to help the Sea Devils take over the world, Earth. But then Trenchard saw this threat and realized what he was doing was bad, and then I think he ended up getting killed by a Sea Devil after when they attacked the prison. We had Jane Blythe. She was Hart's secretary. I mean, she was a secretary. But she was pretty though. And then we also have Ridgway. He was a Royal Navy commander that shows up later in the story. He's played by Donald Sumter, who played Enrico Castaldi in Season 5's Real in Space, and showed up in the Sarah Jane Adventures as in the Eternity Trap, and Game of Thrones as Aemon Targaryen a few decades later. I mean, reason why I could put him in there because I recognize the actor. And as I mentioned before, there are other disposable Navy characters as well, and other side characters, but they didn't really do much, considering the fact that the story is mainly about the Doctor, the Master, and the Sea Devils. And on to the enemies of the story. First off, we have the Master making his return after we saw him getting arrested at the end of the events of the Demons. I think Delgado was great in this story, and I think this is probably one of his best performances as the Master. I liked how he pretended to be a changed man because of his time in prison, but as the saying goes, a leopard never changes its spots, and yeah, so it's pretty hard to pinpoint what exactly is Delgado's best performance as the Master, because pretty much every single Master story of Delgado, with the exception of the Claws of Axos, I've actually enjoyed to some extent. And I like the fact that the Master was able to escape again, meaning that we'll be getting more Master Doctor stories. Well, considering if I only get 2 more Doctor Master stories after the Sea Devils, and in his last Master appearance, Frontier in Space in Season 10, that's Delgado's last appearance as the Master, unfortunately, because Delgado unfortunately dies shortly after the story airs. And we also have the Sea Devils. They're the aquatic cousins of the Silurians, and they pretty much have the same MO and the same backstories as the Silurians. They want to take over the Earth, and they want to try and get rid of humans so they can so they can take back the planet again, because they walk the planet along with the Silurians. So yeah. But the Sea Devils, they were great villains, but not as great as the Silurians, but they were still good. I liked their look. I liked how fishy they looked. And they kind of looked like the fishnet outfits they had. They looked rather interesting. But I do like the samurai outfits in Warriors of the Deep. Even though that's considered to be like one of the worst stories in Doctor Who, but I fucking love the Warriors of the Deep. But when I get to that review, I'll speak on more on that about that. But yeah, the Sea Devils were good. I think they sounded pretty similar to the Silurians, but considering the fact that the Sea Devils actually look the same, this is the same issue again in other Doctor Who monsters. They bloody look the same, and we can't really pinpoint on who's the elder Sea Devil or the younger Sea Devils. They're all pretty much the same. But they were still good. I mean, not as good as the Silurians, but I still liked the Sea Devils. So on to the issues I have with this story. Mainly, I think the main issue with the Sea Devils is because it's pretty similar to Doctor Who and the Silurians, so that pretty much just throws out the originality aspect of what this story could have probably had, even though both stories were actually written by Malcolm Hulke. But I do think he could have tried to make this story a bit more original instead of just reusing the same plot script as Doctor Who and the Silurians, but just removing certain aspects such as like the maturity, the moral ambiguity between most of the characters other than the Doctor and the Companion. And yeah, I just think he could have at least done a better job in that aspect. Plus, I didn't really like the incidental music of this story. It sounded very fart like, and it's just as if they got some 9-year-old there, and obviously 9-year-olds are obsessed with fart jokes. They'll be doing every single time. It's just like, come on, it could have been better. So to conclude this review, despite the obvious similarities between Doctor Who and the Silurians and the Sea Devils, I think the Sea Devils is a fun story and it's a bit of an improvement to Doctor Who and the Silurians, and this is probably even though it's still the same, but the Sea Devils pretty much just introduces like a little bit more aspects such as the new monster. We have the Master, no unit. We obviously have Joe there, and obviously it's basically around like it has a coastal setting, and that really helped the story. But obviously, considering the fact it's too similar to Doctor and the Silurians, I can't really give it a 10 out of 10. But I'm happy giving this story a 9.5 out of 10. So my next review would be The Mutants, so please look out for that. Thanks for watching this review. Let me know what you thought of the Sea Devils. Let me end this review as well. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. Until then, see you later.